Welcome to The Other Opinion, the channel, where we really dig into those crucial, sometimes overlooked perspectives, the ones that genuinely help you navigate this complex world. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something often misunderstood, but honestly, vital for making real progress. It's about how you truly don't take breaks when developing a critical skill. We're pulling insights from Alex Budak's really fantastic work, Everyday Courage, a leader's playbook for modern challenges. Our mission: to unpack the core ideas on building and using courage daily, making you better prepared for whatever comes your way. Before we jump in, though, please hit that like button, drop a comment, tell us your other opinions on courage, maybe a time you couldn't take a break on a tough call, and subscribe to The Other Opinion. Don't miss out. Oh, and please share this with a friend who might need this perspective.
It's definitely true. Leadership today is, well, it's volatile. You've got economic shocks, tricky ethical situations, constant public scrutiny. It's relentless. And the common idea is that courage is this big, dramatic, heroic thing, right? A sudden burst you find in a crisis. But Alex Budak, he offers a different take, a much more, I think, empowering one. He says courage isn't just an instinct you have. It's a muscle. And like any muscle, you build it through consistent, deliberate, values-driven actions. That's what he calls everyday courage. It really emphasizes that don't take breaks. It's about continuous effort. So we're going to explore his framework. He breaks it down into 6 types.
Yeah, that distinction, heroic act versus a muscle you build consistently, that feels really key. So let's unpack this everyday courage idea. It's not about being fearless, right? It's acting even with doubt, risk, or fear. And Budak breaks it down, 6 types. The first one is moral courage. Moral courage. Basically, it's the willingness to act on your values, even if there's a personal or professional risk. It's not exactly new. It goes back to thinkers like Aristotle. Rushworth Kidder also talked about it needing a principle, danger, and stamina for the fight out. The book gives this powerful example. A senior university leader. They have to decide about taking big money from a company, but the company's accused of human rights abuses. The funding's needed, budget cuts are happening, but it clashes with the university's ethics. Turning down that money, despite the risk, that's moral courage.
Exactly. And what's really interesting isn't just the act, but why it's so important. Choosing principles over short-term gain, it's not just about ethics, it's strategic. Long-term, it builds trust, brand integrity. That attracts the best people, employees, partners, customers. It's sustainable. So how do you build it? Well, first, you've got to clarify your core values. Really know what you stand for. If you're fuzzy on that, defending it under pressure is, well, almost impossible.
Right, makes sense.
Tools like James Clear's values list or a personal values assessment can help pinpoint your top 3. Then make them visible. What do those values look like day to day? If transparency is a value, maybe it means explaining the why behind tough decisions. Do it organizationally, too. Translate company values into actual practices. And here's a crucial bit. Pre-commit before a crisis. We're surprisingly prone to ethical fading under stress, so identify potential value testing situations in advance, plan your response.
Like scenario planning for your ethics.
Kind of, yeah. Use if-then statements, like, if this funding needs us to ignore abuses, then we decline regardless. Review these quarterly, keep them fresh.
That pre-commitment idea, it's like you said, it makes so much sense. A prenup for your values. It helps you truly don't take breaks on integrity. Moral courage is the foundation. Okay, that brings us nicely to the next type, social courage. Social courage. This is about speaking up or standing apart from the group, even with that fear of, rejection, being excluded, or damaging your reputation. Remember those Solomon Asch conformity experiments?
Oh, yeah, the line tests.
Exactly. They showed how powerful group pressure is. People doubted their own eyes just to fit in. It shows how deep that fear runs. Budak uses an example, a chief people officer at an executive meeting. A senior leader dismisses a new person's question, kind of mockingly. Everyone's uncomfortable, but the instinct is just to move on.
Awkward.
But this CPO speaks up, pauses things, says something like, hold on, I think we need to make space for different views, especially new ones. That takes real guts in that kind of room, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And the why here is huge. It's fundamental for building psychological safety. That's critical. It's how risks get flagged, how ethical issues surface, how you stop groupthink in its tracks.
So how do you build that muscle?
Well, one tactic is to name the risk before you speak. Acknowledge the potential awkwardness, but don't apologize for your view. Something like, this might not be popular, but, or maybe I see this differently, but it shows self-awareness. And critically, leaders have to reward that kind of principled dissent. Actively ask, does anyone see this another way? Thank people who bring up the hard stuff. Some companies even use a rotating contrarian chair to make it normal. Research backs this up. Rewarding social risk sends a clear signal. Disagreement is valued here. It leads to better decisions.
Yeah, that feels so important for creating a culture where people actually speak.
Yeah.
Okay, moving from the group dynamic outwards to the inner world. Emotional courage. This was different. It's inner bravery, the willingness to actually feel, name, and act on your own discomfort. It's less about external rejection, more about facing tough internal feelings.
Like Susan David talks about, right? Facing emotions openly, using them as data.
Exactly. Using them as a guide, not letting them control you. Think about that healthcare COO example. She had to announce layoffs for a project she championed that failed. Big failure. Instead of delegating, she faced the organization directly, took responsibility,
Yeah.
and stayed present with people's anger, their grief. Didn't shut down, even with her own shame or regret.
That's incredibly powerful. And the why. It preserves credibility, shows accountability. It starts rebuilding trust even after something bad happens. It clarifies things for everyone and fosters resilience.
So how do you practice that? Seems tough.
It is. First step. Own the feelings, but don't overwhelm the room. Brené Brown calls it avoiding floodlighting. Oversharing isn't courage. Be honest but grounded, intentional. Ask yourself, does sharing this create clarity or just burden my team?
Good distinction.
Second, notice, name, and ground your emotions. Catch that impulse to deflect or shut down. Maybe jot down feelings before a tense meeting. Replace defensive lines like, well, these things happen, with honesty. This didn't work out as I hoped, and that's on me. And resist fixing it too fast. Sometimes just saying, I won't rush past this, allows space for the emotion. It doesn't need an immediate fix.
Wow, okay. That feels like a very different, more authentic kind of leadership. Less about being stoic, more about being real. Creates real trust. All right, let's shift gears slightly to intellectual courage. This is about questioning your own assumptions, being open to opposing views, admitting, I don't know. It's what creates the safety needed for real learning and innovation. Budak gives this example of a VP of product. She's defended a core product for ages, but now data and her gut say the market's changed. So she calls a meeting, publicly questions her own long-held position, risks looking indecisive, maybe losing face. But she puts ego aside, voices her doubts, asks the team to explore alternatives. That's intellectual courage.
And the payoff, huge. Faster learning, better strategy. It stops you getting stuck in old thinking when the world changes.
Right, avoids those comfortable ruts.
Exactly. How to build it. First, question your own thinking out loud, especially if you're in charge. It shows your team that rethinking is normal, encourages them to challenge things. Ask, what am I missing here? Does anyone see a flaw in this logic? Second key practice, detach your identity from your ideas. This is hard.
Yeah, I can see that.
When you've championed something, it feels like you. But ideas aren't you. Business changes. Stay flexible. Try celebrating being proven wrong just as much as being right. That humility keeps you learning.
That is so crucial for actually learning and adapting. You absolutely don't take breaks on challenging your own thinking. It keeps you sharp. Hey everyone, if you're finding this deep dive valuable, please pause for a sec, like the video, leave a comment with your other thoughts, maybe on intellectual honesty, and subscribe to The Other Opinion. Okay, next up. Creative courage. Creative courage. Now this is different from intellectual courage, which questions what is. Creative courage imagines what could be. It's about sharing bold, new ideas, backing experiments, getting others involved, knowing some things just won't work out.
Yeah, failure is part of the process here.
Totally. Research shows leaders are key in nurturing new ideas. If creativity gets stifled, companies just stagnate. The book mentions a senior product leader, Innovation Summit coming up. Safe bet, a small product upgrade. But instead, she pitches a radical zero-waste packaging idea. It would totally disrupt supply chains, maybe tick off partners.
Big risk.
Huge risk, but she believes it's vital for the future, with sustainability pressures growing. She knows it might get shot down, but she goes for it.
And that's what fuels breakthroughs. It keeps companies ahead. Stagnation is the enemy. So, how to build creative courage? First, actively make space for risk. Reframe creativity as a skill, not some magic talent. Run quick drills like 10 minutes on bad ideas, 10 on impossible ideas, 10 on reverse ideas. Flip a core assumption, then look for gems.
That loosens things up.
Exactly. And normalize learning from failure. Try closing meetings with, how did you fail this week and what did you learn? Builds curiosity. Second, shrink the stakes. Big ideas feel scary, so test them small. Pilot in one area. Build a rough prototype fast. Run a short, fail-fast sprint. You learn quickly, build confidence without betting the farm too early.
That's a really practical way to encourage real innovation without paralyzing fear. Love that. Okay, final type, physical courage. This is about acting despite physical risk, discomfort, or even danger, often for others. In business, it's often about just showing up, being physically present when it counts. Signal solidarity, builds
Your
trust.
business matters.
Definitely. Budak tells this story of a manufacturing CEO. Reports of unsafe conditions at an overseas plant. Civil unrest in the area. Instead of sending someone else, the CEO travels there. Insists on touring the plant personally, despite security worries. That physical presence sends a massive message. These workers matter. Their safety matters.
It's incredibly powerful for credibility with frontline teams. And you often get faster, better information that way, too. This courage often comes from resilience, optimism, strong values, having support.
How do you build this one? Most office jobs don't involve physical danger.
Right, but you can train the discomfort muscle. Gradually put yourself in stretching situations. Speak first in that tense meeting. Walk into the room where you know your idea won't be popular. Visit your team in person instead of just emailing. Practice showing up in uncomfortable spots. It gets easier. Second, make proximity as policy. Schedule regular time out in the field with no fixed agenda. Shadow someone on the line. Sit with customer service. Eat in the break room.
Like undercover boss, but,
Ah,
openly.
sort of. Treat it as mutual learning. Leaders get firsthand insight, and they model presence. It encourages openness and trust across the board.
Okay, that wraps up our deep dive into Don't Take Breaks. By building everyday courage, right here on The Other Opinion. What we've really seen today is that courage in leadership, it isn't usually about those big dramatic moments. It's built through small, everyday choices, clarifying values, embracing those challenges we talked about, committing to consistent action. That's how you don't take breaks on building your courage muscle. And when you practice it like this consistently, it signals to everyone this is a place where truth matters, taking calculated risks is okay, and doing the right thing is just expected. That's a real competitive edge. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please do us a favor, like the video, leave a comment below. What are your other opinions on practicing everyday courage? And definitely subscribe to The Other Opinion for more. And please share with someone you think could use this perspective.
So, the final thought for you to chew on. What does this all mean for you, personally? Think about these 6 types of courage. Which one do you feel pretty good about already? And which one feels like the biggest stretch, the real challenge? How could starting with just one small, day one practice, as Budak might say, change how you handle the challenges you know are coming up next week?
Great question to ponder. That's all for this deep dive on Don't Take Breaks. By building everyday courage here on The Other Opinion. Just a quick heads up, this deep dive was put together using AI assistants to help distill and present the information from the source material. We always aim for accuracy, but please remember, some info might not be spot on, and checking original sources is always a good idea. We'll see you next time on The Other Opinion.